Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. So this is very important because it's very easy for us to miss. When you do not want something, do not affirm it. And it's a very easy mistake for us to make. If you do not want to, if you don't want to be broke, don't say, I don't want to be broke. That's the mistake right there. Because if you keep saying, I don't want to be broke, you will be broke. So instead of saying, I don't want to be broke, you say, I am rich. That is you affirming what you want versus saying what you do not want. And the is trying to say here that things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. So do not say I don't want to be broke. That creates a form of resistance compared to when you say I am rich. That is an affirmation. So that's just what I want us to understand it there. Health is never to be attained by studying disease and thinking about disease. Righteousness is not to be promoted by studying sin. This is where I always fight with my believer friends. I always fight with my believer friends when it comes to all this sin talk, devil, hell. Consign me. Righteousness is not to be promoted by studying sin and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. Medicine as a science of disease has increased disease. That is actually true. Religion as a science of sin has promoted sin. And economics as a study of poverty will fill the world with wretchedness and want. Do not talk about poverty. Do not investigate it or concern yourself with it. Never mind what its causes are. Never mind what its causes are. You have nothing to do with them. There's nothing you can do. What concerns you is the cure. Focus on the cure. Do not spend your time in charitable work or charity movements. All charity only tends to perpetuate the wretchedness it's aimed to eradicate. I do not say that you should be hard-hearted or unkind, thank God for that, and refuse to hear the cry of need. But you must not try to eradicate poverty in any of the conventional ways, like philanthropy. Put poverty behind you. Anything that concerns poverty, put them behind you. And put all that pertains to it behind you and make good. Put it behind you for good. Get rich. That is the best way you can help the poor. And you cannot hold the mental image, which is to make you rich, if you fill your mind with pictures of poverty. Do not read books or papers which give circumstantial account of the wretchedness of the tenement dwellers, of the horrors of child labor, and so on. Do not pay attention to any of that. Do not read anything which fills your mind with gloomy images of want and suffering. You cannot help the poor in the least by knowing about these things, and the widespread knowledge of them does not tend at all to do away with poverty. Know the things that you consume. What tends to do away with poverty is not the getting of pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting pictures of wealth into your mind. So focus on what you want. Do not focus on what you do not want, because the universe doesn't care whether you are saying, I don't want it. In fact, the universe doesn't understand the word don't. The universe doesn't understand the word don't. It only perpetuates the. So if you keep saying I don't want it, it's going to keep perpetuating the reality where you are constantly placed in a situation where you keep saying I don't want it, So you have to understand how the universe works. Whatever you everything is reinforced. That's the right word. Everything is reinforced. What tends to do away with poverty is not the getting of pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting pictures of wealth into the minds of the poor. So philanthropy does not work. That's why it doesn't work. You are not deserting the poor in their misery when you refuse to allow your mind to be filled with the pictures of that misery. Poverty can be done away with, not by increasing the number of well-to-do people who think about poverty, but by increasing the number of poor people who purpose with faith to get rich. That is the solution. To instead of doing philanthropy, you empower. That's what, instead of giving them money, you empower them. The poor do not need charity, they need inspiration. Know that. Charity only sends them a loaf of bread to keep them alive in their wretchedness, or give them an entertainment to make them forget for an hour or two. But inspiration will cause them to rise out of their misery. If you want to help the poor, demonstrate to them that they can become rich. Prove it by getting rich yourself. The only way in which poverty will ever be banished from this world is by getting a large and constantly increasing number of people to practice the teachings in this book. People must be taught to become rich by creation, not by competition. Every man who becomes rich by competition throws down behind him the ladder by which he rises and keeps others down. But every man who gets rich by creation opens a way for thousands to follow him and inspires them to do so. This is one of the things that actually the Igbo people used to do so much, that they will always try to carry the younger ones along by teaching them trade. And that's very valuable culture is dying. It's actually dying, and I don't know why. So people are now throwing down the ladder as which they are climbing to get rich, instead of helping others to come up. You are not showing hardness of heart or an unfeeling disposition when you refuse to pity poverty. See poverty, or read about poverty, or think or talk about it, or to listen to those who talk about it. Use your willpower to keep your mind off the subject of poverty and to keep it fixed with faith and purpose on the vision of what you want. And that is the end of chapter 9. Now we are moving to chapter 10. Chapter 10 says the further use of the will.